Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Joining us this morning is a great panel of powerhouse women in healthcare, pharmaceutical, medical, and the wellness industry. My name is Jez Mbanjwa. I run a business called Zenzele People Professionals. We specialize in talent, leadership, mindfulness coaching. Our company is to date 22 years old. Oh gosh, I'm wishing for 26. We pride ourselves with operational excellence in the human capital space. So a different segment of our discussion will be led by our esteemed panelists who will focus on healthy relationships within the wellness employees in organizations. Wellness can help us to build positive, mindful, healthier, and highly productive employees. Joining us is Paula, a relationship expert from Attitude Communications. She's a weebie, a women business owner, running a successful company in Johannesburg. She specializes in emotional intelligence, which we all need, conflict management, and a whole lot more. Welcome, Paula, and a great pleasure to have you in our panel.
Thank you, Jazz. Thank you. Hello, everyone.
And gracing us with her presence, we've got Marilyn, dynamic Marilyn. She's a senior manager at Johnson & Johnson. Thank you, Jacob. She's here to tell us more about women opportunities in the pharmaceutical and the medical industry. How we can unlock more opportunities to attract women in the medical fraternity. Welcome, Marilyn.
Thank you.
And a warm welcome to Darwin. Such a great pleasure to have you in the city of gold, baby. This is Johannesburg. She's from Durban. And this is the hub of Johannesburg. So we love to have Durbanites here. And I know you didn't bring the virus in Johannesburg.
Thank you, Jazz.
Darwin is the founder and the director of CS Consignment Solutions. She's based in Hillcrest, Durban. She's a successful weebie who runs a very unique concept of providing consignment stock and asset management in the healthcare industry. Lastly, welcome Lebu, all the way from the Northwest. Lebu is a chief director for environmental management from the Department of Economic Development, Conservation, and Tourism. Madam, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So, our first question, let's bring in Paula. Paula, people, culture in the workplace have a direct impact on the ability to attract and retain customers. How important is organizational culture for the growth of a business?
So organizational culture is actually quite key, and very soon, with the way the market and the economy is going, it's going to be one of your key differentiating factors from a business and organization point of view. But more importantly, without the people in your business, you actually don't have a business. And so their mental and emotional health and well-being is critical to the success of a business, particularly when it comes to growth and profitability and stability overall, whether it's a local business or a global business.
Thank you. So, I mean, from a people aspect of running a recruitment business, we interact with people all the time. And I think right at the center, people are the biggest asset in any organization.
They are, and in fact, the corporate sector loses over 3 billion rands per annum due to loss of productivity, which is wellness and health-related issues, of which depression is cited as one of the highest mental disorders that is currently being experienced worldwide.
Yeah, stress and depression is real. We all know that. My next question will go to Marilyn. So Marilyn, tell us from a Johnson & Johnson perspective, what is your strategy of the STEM initiative in empowering the youth of South Africa? I mean, we know the challenges from the high unemployment rate to the challenges in the education system. And how do we empower this youth to build future-fit skills for our nation?
Thanks. That's a very good question. But I'd like to frame this first and foremost is that our values and our decision making is primarily driven by our credo. And our credo, simply put, really challenges us to put our patients and our doctors and the nurses at the forefront of everything that we do, including the community, of course. Speaking about the YSTEM initiative, which Johnson & Johnson has piloted years ago, globally the statistics reveal that 4.7% of females versus 18% of males expect to even have a career in computing and engineering. And globally, the strategy is around aiming to increase female representation throughout the fundamental life stages of the journey. From a local perspective, and how we bring it back to South Africa is, we've partnered with the Future Me campaign, we've partnered with Junior Achievers, and what we aim to do is ignite and spark enchantment within the youth of South Africa. So we attend and go into junior primary schools and high schools, and we do that through volunteers from Johnson & Johnson, looking at relatable skills, relatable careers in the STEM industry. So STEM is obviously science, technology, engineering, maths, and design. And what we do is go into these schools and talk to the children about our story. So I'm also one of the volunteers and on the steering committee of YSTEM. And what we would like to do is to encourage the children to actually look purposely into the future, to say, where I am now is not where I need to be in the future. And the reason in South Africa we don't just talk to females, we talk to males and females because of the skills gap. Our intention is to reach at least 8,000 learners by the end of 2020, and we're well on track in terms of the strategy to get there. And it just goes beyond that. It's beyond just the story of igniting the spark and the passion within these children. It is also about having them experience experiential learning. So we do an activity with the class that starts to spark the curiosity and the learning and thinking differently and applying maths and science to solve these creative problems. And I just want to read a testament by one of the volunteers that actually engaged in a classroom session. And she said, I found the session really energizing. While it's not always easy explaining my career to children this age, it was great to see their engagement when I explained the wider possibilities in sales, commercial, in a way that they can identify in their everyday life. They know Pick and Pay, ShopRite, Checkers, Clicks, and Spaza stores. So opening up the hood, so to speak, to show them how businesses work and how J&J works with them was how I brought them into the commercial world. We worked through an R&D exercise where the kids were developing a pain medication for J&J and had to determine what format the pill should take if we wanted to be fast-acting. The kids really got into it. They fulfilled the exercise from beginning to end like professionals and even weaved in their own knowledge of what they had learned in science before.
Thank you. So that's quite empowering to know, because for the first time yesterday, I learned that Johnson & Johnson doesn't only do baby products. Johnson & Johnson is into medical devices, controlling infections, I think, in hospitals, and they're also doing STEM, which is quite important for the country in the science and maths, to empower the youth to make sure that they don't only do STEM, which is arts and culture, but they get into the STEM as well. So that's quite empowering to know that Johnson & Johnson is on that path for a strategy. Delwyn, as a woman-owned business in the healthcare sector, what opportunities are there for us women in sometimes a space where is perceived as male-dominated, which is the medical and the healthcare sector?
As a young entrepreneur, always been in the healthcare industry, I think for every woman owner or entrepreneur, we always start in a field that we grew up in or that we studied in. So studying medical technology and accounting, I've always had a passion for the medical industry. And when working for multinationals and then Life Healthcare, I saw there was a gap. And it was a concept, a service provider monitoring or managing consignment stock in the hospitals on behalf of our clients, such as Johnson & Johnson. So it was identifying a gap, believing in yourself. I had head knowledge. It's a niche concept. Johnson & Johnson can say there's no other service like mine in South Africa. And it's not only to the healthcare industry, wherever there's consignment stock. But I took the head knowledge and I started doing a business plan. I started putting it out there. And but first it comes with self-belief. Can I do it? It comes with passion. Passion is I'm passionate about the industry. I'm passionate about patients' care. And that passion drove me and kept me going to having a business 7 years down the line. And although it's male dominant, when you look at the nursing sector, you think doctors, specialists are all male, but not so. There's more and more women coming up. And I think that we as women underrate ourselves. We limit ourselves. We're too scared. And we have to start taking that off and start believing in ourselves and start looking at opportunities where males have dominated, but we can be better. We are the future. There's more of us. We need to impact and take over the male-dominant space, not only in the healthcare industry, mining, technology, and that's where we need to go, and that's where we need to scale up in 2020.
Thank you, Darwin. This is such an inspiring story to have a weebie. I think out of over 100 weebies, she's the only one who's doing medical. So it's a challenge for us weebies to actually get into the medical space and supply swabs, recycling, wastage. You know, there's a lot of stuff that happens in hospitals, even catering more in a hospital, you know. You can do so much in the healthcare. So I think we get intimidated by the fact that I'm not a medical expert and we think, oh no, Johnson & Johnson will shut the door. But there's a lot of commodities that we can supply. Melebu,
Yes, ma'am.
talk to us about how the Northwest, you are benefiting from protecting the environment, in particular with harvesting medical plants. Yesterday I also got a surprise to hear all the stuff that is planted, which is indigenous in the Northwest. So just share with us how does that benefit the country?
Last year, I said to Jean, I'm wondering where the other provinces are. Because as South Africa, we are opening up doors in terms of the biodiversity space. Biodiversity is a sector that has not been known to all the people that are doing business. It has always been lily-white. It has always been male-dominated. Now we are saying that here are opportunities. As you are trying to scale up in terms of business opportunities, economic growth, we are saying that you need to have more and more opportunities that you need to look into for you to be able to scale up. So as a country, from the environment sector, we started with looking at the legislative framework. Conservation was our starting point to say that we need to look after all these indigenous plants that we have, because we always knew that our forefathers, they survived without hospitals. They survived without going to the clinics. There were no doctors at the time. They found healing amongst themselves because they were using all these local plants. And that is the indigenous knowledge that we need to also protect moving forward. And we need to level that and scale that up to say that we need to bring this to the next level whereby we are able to see these products being used by Johnson & Johnson and other pharmaceutical companies. We need to start seeing them helping people in the hospitals. We need to start seeing these products in the shelves when you go to Clicks, when you go to Discam and so on. So we started by making sure that we put in systems the legal framework. We conserved, and now we are at the stage where we're saying that let us start talking sustainable development. Yes. We've got these plants. We know how to protect them. We know how to care for them. We know how to harvest them in such a way that we don't destroy them. So we are now at the stage where we are saying that let us scale up. Let us open the doors and say to the people that here are other commodities that fits nicely into the medical fraternity. Quite a number of them, they've been used for many, many years. And why not take them up now? Because we now know we've put in place systems like regulations. We've got acts, we've got the Biodiversity Act, we've got in 2017 we gazetted the regulations, special regulations for harvesting of the medicinal plants. And the key point for us to come up with those regulations was for us to make sure that our plants are protected. We must embrace them, own them up, and then make sure that we are protected and they are protected from the people who are coming from outside. Because what we have learned is that people would come from outside South Africa to come and harvest here and then go and process. So now what we are saying is that embrace what you have and make sure that you derive economic as well as social benefits out of that.
Thank you, Lebo. But I got a small challenge for you from your harvesting in the Northwest. Why are you growing plants in the Northwest, commodities like the devil's claw and the moringa tree? And why on earth would you take these to Germany first to be packaged and you come back and sell them in South Africa?
That is a very good question too, because the devil's claw plant occurs naturally in Namibia, in Botswana, in parts of the Northwest Province and part of the Northern Cape. It's a plant that grows and thrives in the sub-Saharan kind of environment. It grows naturally, and it was discovered by the Germans whilst we were sitting next to it.
You mean here in South Africa?
Yes,
Okay.
many years ago. And then they discovered that this plant has healing attributes. And then they started harvesting it. And then later on, they kept on coming back for more. And then we started wondering, what is so special about this plant? Why don't we go and also do further research about the plant? And then we discovered that devil's claw can heal, challenges of arthritis. It is an anti-inflammatory. It deals with issues of indigestion and so on. And then we were like, oh, so we are sitting with a diamond next door, and we have not been exploring it. So that's why we started to go and set up legislations. But what we've picked up was that when these people from other countries come into South Africa to come and harvest or to come and benefit from these plants, because we did not do our research as South Africans, we had not tested, we just enjoyed selling the raw material. You give it away. You give it away. For as long as they keep on coming back for more, you are like, I'm making money, as a rural woman in the rural province of the Northwest Province. And then we said to the people in those rural areas, but why are we not also processing these plants? Let us come to the next level. You know how to grow now. You can propagate the plant. We have taught you how to harvest it sustainably without killing the plant. Now let's get to the next level, agro-process, so that we can stop these Germans from keeping on coming back for the raw material, because out of the raw material, they're able to produce so many different products that you find in the shelves when you go to Discam, when you go to Clicks. We always find those products there. They identify or select certain specific elements within the product so that they're able to produce the ultimate products that we find in the shelves. We've got tablets, we've got powders, we've got creams, we've got so many different products that you get which are having an element or a touch of devil's claw, which is not found in most of the countries, which is not found in most of the parts of South Africa. Fortunately, in the Northwest Province, it happens to be there, but what we have done is, through the support or by ARC, we've been able to test as to whether can we not propagate this plant so that we're able to scale up economically, so that we're able to have more raw material and be able to make more products and make more money and also improve our health. Fortunately, 2-3 years back, ARC came back to say that we've done all the tests, we are happy, you can propagate, you're going to get good quality out of the product that you're going to get. So now we are propagating. That's why in the Northwest Province, we are planting, we're expanding in terms of the plant so that we can have more and more people that are benefiting in terms of job creation. And then health-wise, as a nation, we are also going to benefit in terms of that. And then economically, there's going to be economic benefits that we are going to derive from that.
Thank you. Are you ready for Weebies to come and to
Sure.
Northwest to get all these opportunities? Thank you. Paula, let's come back to you.
Yep.
There are 3 areas to achieve your business model, where you talk about mental, emotional, financial, and lifestyle wellness of employees in organizations. So with employees spending about 60%, that's a huge percentage, of their waking times in the workplace, what can companies do right to actually take care of employees, who I think is the biggest asset to
Yeah.
drive an organization's profits and growth.
So this is a big challenge for corporates or organizations going forward. I'm going to talk to both at an individual level and a corporate level. There's actually a far bigger epidemic worldwide than the coronavirus right now, and that is the loneliness epidemic, where it is affecting your immune system to such a degree that it is the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day, making it much more deadlier than obesity, okay? Now, how this affects individuals is because the two biggest stresses that individuals bring into the workplace is family and relationship stress and financial stress, which affects their productivity in the workplace. 50% of sick days or leave days that are taken are due to stress-related issues, okay? So at an individual level, people are turning to negative coping mechanisms such as alcohol, substance abuse, and I'm not talking just hardcore drugs, I'm talking things like painkillers, antidepressants, anxiety medication, et cetera, et cetera. So at an individual level, how are we managing our stress and our health and our well-being at an individual level? In terms of how that's going to affect the corporate workplace and creating a healthy culture, and I say this respectfully, a lot of these one-day wellness days or the annual wellness days that are performed are not really sustainable in helping people cope with these kinds of issues that they are dealing with in the workplace. Also, with the different generations in the workplace, we have different needs from a mental, emotional, financial perspective. A young, ambitious person that's driving for their career versus someone that is a young family or someone that is an empty nester. Their emotional wellness needs are very different. So from those campaigns and those initiatives that are being put in place, how are you catering from a generational level on a mental, emotional wellness perspective? And then in terms of talking to the new workplace or landscape of the future, the gig economy, where a lot of people are moving into freelancing and contracting and shared working spaces. Shared working spaces are supposed to be creating collaborative places where we can collaborate together. But when you walk into a lot of these places, a lot of them are advocating sound booths to knock out the noise, or people putting in earphones to knock out the noise. So we are losing the social skills and the ability to have healthy connections in terms of human connection. So going forward, and I'm sorry to say we are moving out of the fourth industrial revolution into the fifth industrial revolution already, which is the focus is on HT, human technology, and how do we use technology to bring back the human connection aspect.
Thank you for that. And I think, most of us who are here as parents, as brothers and sisters, stress is a real killer.
Yeah.
Marilyn, back to you. Part of our theme is for women to scale up in 2020. Corporates have to embrace transformation. We hear it all the time. Diversity, inclusion, in particular for women empowerment and creating opportunities for more women. And we know the stats are still very low. I can imagine in the pharmaceutical, healthcare, and medical industry. What is your diversity and inclusion strategy at Johnson & Johnson?
In fact, diversity and inclusion is a key strategic pillar for our business globally. Locally, of course, we embrace diversity and inclusion, whilst we prioritize employment equity as one of the key aspects of diversity and inclusion, looking at how we recruit, our recruitment policies, how we retain and develop talent within the organization, not just for females, but obviously African Black females and males, making sure that we have equity amongst our management group and, of course, on every level within the organization. One of the key aspects that we look at is also employee resource groups. And where that comes in is, I think what we need to understand is diversity exists beyond just the color of one's skin. Diversity exists culturally, sexual orientation, gender. And how we embrace that is we encourage employee resource groups, and this helps our employees feel like they belong. When they start up these groups, it's led and sponsored through executive levels, and what we embrace, for example, as one of the ERGs, or in short ERGs that we call them, is women leadership and inclusion. That is a global ERG sponsored by senior executives, Kathy Wengel herself, and obviously this goes through from a regional perspective and brought to on a country level. For example, some of the pillars that is looked at is advancement of women and how we start to promote gender equality within the organization. And why we embraced inclusion as opposed to saying women leadership initiatives is because last year in Brazil there was an annual conference and 40 of the chapter leads got together and they spoke about rebranding, about bringing men in as allies. And why is that important? Because it's important that together we realize that gender equality is a necessary drive and initiative that all organizations need to support. Looking at how do we develop and progress females within the organization, there's a mentoring process or mentoring program that we've launched globally and obviously in South Africa late last year, where we identify people within the organization that have development requirements, or they put their hands up and say, look, I would love a mentor. We then allocate mentors to those people, and it's done with relatable skills as well to help develop those individuals. But in summary, I'd like to say I'm a proudly J&J employee as a female. 50% of our organization are females, and a quarter of our executive board are females. So I think we don't just speak it, we live it. Thank you.
We love Jacob. Delwyn, I think we've only got 2 minutes. So between you and Lebu, 1 minute each. What can you do as a business owner, woman, in a space where you are the only one as a weebie who's doing it? What can you do to mentor 2 or 3 other weebies to actually be in the sector? Will you?
Well, thank you for your question. I was just thinking how am I going to be scaling up in 2010, and being in the healthcare industry and having a unique service managing consignment stock. I just would like to challenge all the weebies. What are they going to do to scale up? Are they going to branch out and look at other sectors, look at other industries? Get out of the sector that you know and start challenging yourself to look at other sectors.
Thank you. Lebu, few seconds for you. What do you have to tell us from the Northwest?
Thank you very much. In conclusion, I would like to say that even though devil's claw grows naturally in the Northwest Province, we've got so many other plant commodities like your aloe-ferox, you've got moringa, you've got cancer bush, you've got wild ginger, we've got African potato, and so on, which are spread throughout South Africa, which all have medicinal benefits. So from all the other provinces, go and step up the game and make sure that you identify these plants within your area and benefit from them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jazz, and your enlightening panel. Ladies, if you wouldn't mind taking a photograph, please, and then we'll move on with the next section of today's program.